It is the year 1870, and the great American plains offer a vast open region for a new tide of settlement.
Well, changes, they are a-comin'. The Canadian population is going to shift dramatically over the next half century. It's going to become grayer. It's going to look more like me, more diverse. That changes it, and more concentrated in 4 Western provinces. From the Canadian Association of Retired Persons, Susan Angus here. Susan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Why there are so many people coming into Toronto, 100,000 people a year. It's an enormous city, getting bigger, yet all in all, the population will be shifting west. Why?
Well, a lot of it right now is that's where the jobs are. A lot of younger people in their 20s and 30s are going to the oil patch and finding jobs in addition in the service trade around there. So that's where the economy is growing jobs, and that's where people are going to perhaps put down roots as well.
They'll go, and they won't just go get some money and come home. That's sometimes what they intend to do.
Yes, that's true. But you know, you can't live a life like that, right?
Right.
Always being a transient. Many of these people were already immigrants, so they've already made one big shift. But many people have families at home, or they bring their families with them. But it is, I think that is where the weight of the economy is going.
Well, despite what I said I see happening in Toronto, I think that there are a lot of people who are just jumping Toronto. They're going from the Atlantic coast, right, and heading out west. In fact, it's a travesty on the East Coast.
Well, it is, because then the communities get emptied of young people. And so long as the jobs are not growing there, they can't keep their families together, and they lose the young people. And then if they're, then those communities also empty out of other kinds of jobs as well. And the people who are older are not really so, it's not really so easy for them to move around.
Well, and if you're an older person now and the young, perhaps future tax-paying base of your province is leaving, it's harder to sustain that older population, isn't it?
That is a big issue, and that's why we have to really look at national standards, for example, for healthcare, make sure that there's funding so that your access to healthcare doesn't depend on your postal code, and so on.
All right, because if that's the case, then the older people will leave too. Won't they?
Well, you see, that's possible, but I think it's very hard for older people who've put down roots, who have community connections and family connections, to just up and leave. However, it is true that there are provinces that cover, say, some drugs more than others, and that they have better treatments for some things and so on. And yes, they are tempted to move, and it's a huge disruption.
But if the primary move happening is the younger people looking for jobs now, how's that a major concern to your association?
Well, it is for us as well, because the tax base is important both federally and provincially. A lot of health care costs are borne out of the provincial budget. And I think the larger issue is that we want to see families kept together, that they have the help and support of their families, not only psychologically, but especially when it comes to people with some chronic care issues. We still rely primarily on family as caregivers. The healthcare system, the public healthcare system, isn't completely covering your back.
Are we getting to be an older population, baby boomers like myself? Are we not being replaced?
Well, no. The baby boom, of course, is the, as they call it, the pig in the python. It's the large part of the demographic, all of us.
That's an attractive analogy.
Yes, but all of us are in this together. It has an impact on public policy because it's so big. Everything that we need, everything that we want, our preferences become public policy in many ways. And I guess that's the way the policy has to be. It has to respond to its population and its needs. But that large bulge in the population graph is going to change in 30 years, where the demographic group trails off.
All right. We're sort of benefiting from the fact that through medical science and other things, improvement in diet, we're living so much longer. That's the upside. The downside is we're costing a lot of money. Well, I say we because I see myself, entering into this.
I'm with you there. The key to understanding this is, first of all, let's stop for a minute and accept that longevity is a miracle. right? The fact that people are living longer and healthier lives, we have to celebrate. So let's not jump too quickly to say, woe is me, we have to slash our wrists or something. But in actual fact, this is also the group, the boomer group, who have also paid into the tax system all these many years, funding the public institutions that we have. So we shouldn't begrudge the generation for getting older, but it does mean that public policy has to start addressing these issues. We have to acknowledge the fact that it is happening. People are aging and they're staying alive. These are all good things. We should celebrate that, but we should pay attention to the fact that a minority of them will need health care, and we need to be ready for that. And the way we spend our health dollars is important. We can't keep people in institutions and hospitals and so on. We have to start shifting how we deliver those public dollars in health care.
Do we also need to shift our concept of when we can retire? I mean, if we're going to live 30 years longer, well, then maybe we need to work 10 years longer or something.
Well, yes, there's good and bad news to that. A lot of people are working longer because they just love the job.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of other people are working because they need to. They didn't save enough. They didn't have any workplace pension plan at all. So now they hit a certain time in their years and they realize, you know what, I can't really stop working. And if they have any kind of sort of medical difficulty, boom, $25,000 in the hole with cost, medical expenses, and so on. So I think one of our messages for people is prepare, save, bear in mind that not everybody gets to be totally healthy, happy for the rest of their lives. Things could happen. You should prepare. The public system is there for the most emergencies, but it's not going to take care of chronic care and so on. So these are the things that we have to pay attention to.
I appreciate you coming in.
Always a pleasure.
And